All right, I think we're live. So here we are, episode 100, right? Our centennial episode. $50 word out of a $5 mouth. Not episode, centennial. Anyway, I realized when I signed in today, tonight, a lot of my assets are missing. Anyway, like my countdown timer and stuff like that. So I don't know if the system updated, did some weird things or whatever, but I'm missing some clips. So that's why for those of you who've been following along for a while, you didn't see it like fade, that screen fade out, the title slide, and then it move into that countdown thing. So for next week, we'll have to update that or I don't know, make something happen. Anyway, so here we are. Like I said, episode 100. I don't have fanfare. I don't have fireworks to go off. I don't have any of that stuff. Ooh, stuff's popping up on the screen. James must be in the background doing his ninja stealthy thing. Anyway, so episode 100. Thanks to everybody who's helped move this along and made it what it is. I appreciate my regulars, whether you're local or you're long distance or whatever. And so for those of you who are on Apple Podcast or Google Play or Spotify or James, I don't know, you told me at some point how many freaking podcast directories we're on, but I lost count. So I'm just going to say a lot, right? Anyway, so doing well, moving forward. We've got our regulars every week, and we've got new folks joining us all the time, which is really, really cool. I considered like signing on, like, I don't know, some people doing things, right? Like, hey, mother truckers, what's that? Whatever, right? But that's not me. So anyway, see, it even looked weird when I did it. Okay? I'm sure some of you looked at the screen and said, don't ever do that again. Don't worry, I won't. Unless I'm, I don't know, having fun. Anyway, so what I thought I would do. Hey, James, your camera is now working. Awesome. James in the background, he's had little glitches and stuff. So he's updated his tech on that side. And so I'm jazzed and I'm stoked because not only is this episode 100, but we've got a lot of you guys know that we have these really big, I've been using the word bodacious, right? To move us along. And for some folks, they told me that for them always had like a negative connotation. I don't care, right? I mean, like big, bold, like over the top kind of things. Like my brain, part of my brain, well, I don't think it's doing that anymore, right? It's just kind of accepted that that's what we're doing. But when I originally set these goals at the new year, part of my brain was like, I don't know how that's going to happen. Okay. I don't know. I'm very, very confident in my ability to make things happen. And I never see failure. Failure to me is like, you just quit and give up. Right. I'll figure it out. Right. And, we'll call it what most people call failing. Right. If I fall short, that's exactly what it's going to be. Right. I'm going to be way, way farther ahead than anything else. But anyway, so a big thanks. I mean, during this episode, I want to make sure I thank a bunch of people. James Alexander, who's always like in the background helping out with things. A lot of you guys who've been who have enrolled or registered over the years in the online training programs, or actually bought like whether it was an ebook or some kind of program, or even signed up for something free, like a webinar or something that we were doing, right? If there was a glitch in the system, James was the guy that was helping to sort it out, helping you get what you needed. Anything from like fixing tech problems to, just making sure that you got the download and you were able to operate things and all that. So moving forward here very, very shortly, we're going to make it official. James is actually going to move into a senior VP position running the online training stuff. That doesn't mean he's going to be like, he's replacing me or anything like that, right? But I'm going to focus on what I need to be focusing on, which is program development and teaching and making sure that things are what they're supposed to be. So quality control, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're still going to see me doing Whiteboard Wednesdays. You're still going to see me doing KUDEN. You're still going to see me teaching the programs and all that. He will be doing some coaching and whatnot to help folks that are in programs and moving forward. but I'm going to turn the administrative and the steering kind of stuff over to him to make sure the day-to-day stuff is doing what it's supposed to be doing, so everybody has access and stuff. And truth be told, he's been doing a lot of that stuff anyway. We're just going to formalize this. So he's moving into that role. My guy Drew Yerger, who's an in-house student at the dojo, has been working his fantail off. I don't know that he has a fantail. Anyway, so he's been working his butt cheeks off. I know he has those because I kick him on a regular basis. Anyway, so if you see a bunch of like warrior concepts, social media posts, and all that kind of stuff, Drew's behind a whole bunch of that stuff, right? We just got through vetting a series of services to help us automate a lot of that stuff, so our busy life doesn't get in the way of making sure that you guys have, like, daily insights, or that what's going on and all that, right? So we just settled on a new company helping us out, a company called Social Bee that just has a butt ton of abilities and stuff for us to help with that. So again, for all of you guys looking forward to getting all this free stuff, I am now paying for another service so that you can have free stuff, right? So you're welcome very much. Anyway, so who else? I've got 10 people going through an instructor training program, our AITP, or Advanced Instructor Training Program, at the Academy, to help explode things. In addition to James, who's also helping with that because he's got no other, nothing else going on in his life, right? Except all this extra stuff, right? And Drew's going through the instructor training program as well. Stan and Aaron, and oh my God, don't let me miss anybody, right? So those two, Stan and Aaron and Joe Farrell and Arissa Keene and don't let me miss anybody. If I go around the table mentally, right? Phil DeSmet and Michelle Murphy, Rob Murphy. Who did I miss, James? Come on, you can unmute yourself. I'll unmute it. Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Did I miss anybody? Shit.
Chris McLaurin.
How can I forget Chris? He teaches the TOTS classes and helps all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, Chris. Is that it? Did I hit all 10?
Yes, that should be everybody.
Whew. They'll let me know, or they'll feel bad next Wednesday night when we do another training, right? And then I'll do like an addendum, like newspapers should, right? And apologize for not having a written list and reading off things, right? God, who else has been helping? Aaron's been helping Drew with a tech upgrade at the Academy. So we just put some tech in place to help with attendance and all that. Yes, I do track attendance. I'm running a professional school, albeit a martial arts academy. So I want to make sure that people are attending class on a regular basis so they can see the things that they need to see, so they can test and see regular ongoing progress, right? That's part of my job as an instructor, is to make sure that we're nurturing people through. Ultimately, it's not my job to like motivate a student, but it is my job to help students develop the right habits. And one of the first habits we instill in students is, what is that, James? Attend class an average of twice a week. So it becomes a habit, right? So that way you can see regular ongoing progress, right? Because what we find, and the same thing happened with me going through and everybody, right? I know a lot of us like to believe that we were like the prodigal son, but what we had to do was, one, commit to the process, and two, make sure that we were scheduling the time, right? We want to see regular ongoing progress, so we need to make sure that happens, right? I'll make sure this is held up again, because we need to live the dream, right? The man, the myth, the legend. At least that's what my kid says. I don't know about that. I'm awfully busy and tired for being anybody's legend. I just pointed that out. Where was I? I was at at that private school that I did that presentation for last week. I was a kid wearing a shirt that said "The Legend," and I looked at him and said, "You do know that most legends are dead, right?" He just like stopped, because people put all kinds of crap on shirts and stuff, right? It's like the word awesome, right? Awesome, right? Fear-inducing, right? So I know that they update dictionaries, but everybody does know, when you're going to the dictionary to validate things, don't forget, and this is out of the mouths of these people who write dictionaries, right? Or update them and all that dictionaries are modified on a regular basis based on the lowest common denominator as far as communicators in the world, which is why like substandard negatives are in there, like ain't and stuff like that, right? So, it's in the dictionary. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things in a dictionary too. But anyway, so, like happy and gay used to mean something completely different than they mean today, right? So, and you're not even allowed to mention things like that because you might be insensitive or whatever, right? And so, I get it. Everybody has their own agenda, right? But anyway, all right. So, who else do we have helping? Aaron's helping. Drew. Oh, Drew's wiring the dojo for our cyber classes, right? So instead of me using my updated or not laptop through Zoom classes and all that, that's all getting an overhaul. So we're gonna have cameras from different angles and a dedicated computer system to run all that stuff, and that's going to be sooner than later. So that's right around the corner. So I'm actually upgrading all the internet stuff and everything so that those things can be more professional. And I don't know if I'm going to do any kind of studio for this kind of thing. I kind of like the laid back, like we're chatting over something. Would be. I don't. I just had this flashed image, James, that we do something like we used to do in Somaya Sensei's dojo in Japan, where after class was over, a small table was brought out, and we'd all sit on the mat, and then hot water and tea. Right, we'd sit around and have tea and like some small crackers or whatever while we were chatting with Sensei, and that was the Kuden kind of thing, right? And we did that at the dojo for a little while, but classes kind of like overran everything. So, but that was just a cool thing where black belts are seniors or the Shinobi Kai. Now we've got a Shinobi Kai. The inner circle is like freaking ginormous, right? We need like 2 picnic tables lined up for everybody that shows up for class now, right? So, but anyway, all that kind of stuff is being wired. So this doesn't just mark 100th episode of Kuden. We'd probably be way farther ahead, right? I mean, if I wouldn't have taken that year and a half off, me the slacker, right, trying to figure out how I was going to re-engineer things or redesign things, because Kuden was originally me and a co-host who was a radio guy. And now I got you. No, we're not really doing the same kind of format. And let's see what else. Shit, there's other stuff. How much other stuff is going? Oh, you and I just had a meeting on Saturday morning, right? And we were talking about having to get all this other stuff like repurposed, because my Platinum Inner Circle distance training program has been going on since what, 2008, give or take, something like that, right? And between free webinars that I did and all these other programs, Ninja Hachimon program, Ninja Mind, and these twice weekly coaching calls with students, right? How many assets do I have just on that service, just the audio stuff? Did you say it was around 1,400?
Yeah, it's getting close to 1,400.
Getting close to 14, just with that, right? So we're not counting Whiteboard Wednesdays. We're not talking about Kuden episodes. We're not talking about YouTube videos. We're not talking about the 512 articles that I have syndicated around the internet, something like that. None of that stuff, right? So, for a lot of people, like I had somebody not too long ago, I don't know, a bunch of episodes back. He goes, "Oh, wow, I didn't even know you had a podcast." And I get it. I mean, everybody's looking for stuff, but and that's on me. That's on us, right? Because there was a period there where the promotional stuff kind of fell short, right? And all that's going to freaking ramp up here really, really soon. So,
Right.
It is what it is, right? So, what I was doing was producing the Kuden and all these other things. They were either lessons for students, whether they were in-house or the the long distance guys, or I was writing articles and all that, and just kind of tossing these things out there, and people could find them and end up going to the website, checking things out or whatever. But what I wasn't doing was promoting the fact that I just wrote a new article, or I just put up a new video, or, for people who missed the first round of notifications, to let them know that like tonight, right? I mean, people on the list, the subscriber list and stuff that we have, right? They get a notification a couple of times on the day that these things are going out. But after that, we don't do anything to let people know. Well, I guess Drew is now. Drew's been posting a couple of things in the week after a KUDEN episode to remind people if they missed it, go back and check it out. But there's a whole bunch of other things, there's a whole bunch of strategies that I'm going to be using, other than we just did a podcast, go check it out kind of thing, to really highlight some of the things that were discussed, or topics or whatever, right? And so still lots and lots of things to do, but it's going to require staff. Hence, having 10 people go through an instructor training program right now to help with day-to-day things at the dojo, right? Oh, and that's the other, Joe Farrell. I just had a meeting with him today. He's one of the guys going through my instructor training program. He's a vet, former Army guy, and did recruiting and all that kind of stuff. So, and he's got some time, right? Disabled vet kind of thing, right? But is real jazzed about martial arts stuff. So he and I are going to be fast tracking some things so that he can help me out with enrollments and stuff like that at the academy. So yeah, awesome. I've got a bunch of people jumping through hoops and loops to help. Arissa's been, super helpful with just whatever needs to be done. I mean, we get a lot of people which speaks heavily of our people, right? That they want to just jump in and help out. So that's a cool thing. So anyway, yeah, it's all good. Did I forget anything? I mean, you're not only going to run the online academy stuff, but you're also my admin assistant. So what I forget? Well, we don't have an agenda for these things. I just jump on and start chatting about whatever the topic is. Anyway, so it's all good, right? I mean, we've got a couple of informational things for people, help them out, right? I mean,
couple
512 different articles on everything from Nijitsu in general to general self-defense, women's self-defense, child safety, workplace violence, personal development, Mikyo, meditation, mindset, all kinds of stuff, right? That's just on that side. There's 60 some videos, and I've been remiss in making videos for YouTube. I mean, we have more now because we've been running KUDEN through that as well. So that ends up being over there. But I mean, independent little video clips and all that, there was only like 60. So I'm a slacker on that side. But we calculate those 1,400, almost 1,400 teleseminars and webinars and things like that over on the Ziosoft, or the instant teleseminar service. My classes tend to average at about an hour and a half each, right? We've got some that go way over and some that are right about the hour mark. But so we're looking at well over 1,400, 2,000, 2,500 hours of training. Easy. Just in that one area easily. Yeah. So cool stuff, right? You know what that means? It just fucking means I talk a lot. Go home at the end of a day after teaching and stuff, and my wife goes, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." "Why?" "Well, you're not talking." "Baby, I love you, but I've been listening to the sound of my freaking voice all day long, right? I need a break from me." I mean, I love this stuff and I'm passionate about this stuff, but at the same time, I need a break sometimes. And then so we just have this arrangement where she gives me, like, I don't know, 30 minutes or so to kind of sit in silence, decompress and all that. And then we can chat. And then she tells me crazy stories about, I don't know, the dog or whatever her day was like or whatever. So, then she entertains me. So it's all good. All right. So anything else I forgot? I mean, we're about to relaunch a whole bunch of our programs now that Online Ninja Academy is fully up and ready. So if you haven't checked that out, go to onlineninjaacademy.com. Just in case you don't know what I just said because I speak too fast or spelling is a problem or whatever. If you look at the lower right hand portion of your screen, if you're on the live thing now or you're watching the video, it's right there. Onlineninjaacademy.com. It is instead of doing what every other freaking martial artist is doing and just throwing a whole bunch of stuff around and what they think is cool. What I decided to do was model success, right? So the new site is designed based on the same framework as a lot of these online universities, right? I actually just borrowed the framework from Coursera.com, which is uber successful, but they're on the business education. When I say corporate training or whatever, I'm talking about people that are trying to get some education or training in certain specific areas so they can get advancement at work and those kind of things, right? Why reinvent the wheel, right? So it's laid out very much like that in different ways. And then, tell me if I'm wrong, James, everything that's listed on the site right now on the main page is accessible, right? I mean, if they click on something, yes, it's either going to go directly to that program or ebook or whatever, or it's going to go to, if they click on a category picture or link or something, right? It's going to go to a page that has the programs and whatnot that we have available. That's surrounding that, or that's part of that thing, right? So if they click on personal development, they click on whatever, right? And everything's not listed yet, right? I mean, we wanted to get a whole bunch of things available, but we're going to be relaunching a bunch of these things because we want to dress up some graphics and make things more pretty for those people who need pretty and not just the education, right? So I had a teacher one time that reminded me that especially as ninja, we need to give people what they want so that they stick around long enough to get what they actually need, right? And people very often, I did a long time ago as well, confuse wants and needs, right? I really need that. No, see, that doesn't require, or that's not a part of the breathing and needing oxygen, eating and needing to not starve to death, drinking and not dehydrate yourself to the point where your organs shut down, sleep so that you don't end up freaking mentally, just off, whatever, right? So, but people often do the whole need things, or they've fantasized on movies, or they've watched YouTube like MMA fights, and they so they're having this thing, right? So often we have to present them or give them enough of what they want so that they will stick around long enough to get what they actually need. But there are lines I will not cross, right? So I'm not going to be a dancing clown for anybody. I'm not going to be your best bud, those kind of things, right? I mean, we can be friendly and we can do those kind of things, but there is a teacher-student relationship that needs to be maintained. And that doesn't mean that I'm standing on a pedestal or anything like that. But, my teacher, can you imagine, and I know I've mentioned this before, but for all these people that want to be best buds with the teacher, can you imagine going to Japan and going, "Hey, Masaki, what's up, dude? How about let me slide on this testing requirement? Or do I really need to wear like a black t-shirt to class? How about this pink tie-dyed kind of thing? I really like that. That's what I'm feeling, but nobody would do that, right? It's always been Hatsumi Sensei or Shrei Sensei or Nagato Sensei or whatever, right? And a long time ago, and this is one of those things that really throw people off in the Bujinkan, a long time ago, I ran into the friend problem, right? Where I tried to do the friend training group kind of thing. And that's exactly what happened. People started using that as I don't like doing that thing that you have on the curriculum for testing and advancement. Can you let me slide on that, right? So at a certain point, we just decided we were going to go with surnames and the sensei thing and all that. And, So Mr. Miller or Mr. Paul or Mr. Whistler or whatever, or Sensei or Shidoshi or whatever. And we kicked in the whole sir and ma'am kind of thing. One, because I think it's professional etiquette, and etiquette's freaking fallen by the wayside. Quick side story. I know what things are like in the area where we live, because James doesn't live that. I mean, he lives far away from the dojo, considering how far away most students live. But it's the same kind of mindset area kind of thing, right? And so I was, raised in a certain era and whatnot. And when I was born, and for the first part growing up, guys still wore hats, and you wore suits to church, and that kind of thing, right? And then I went in the military, and you had the same kind of etiquette where hats came off when you walked in the door, hats went on when you walked out the door, that kind of thing, right? That's not typically the way things are in our area, right? So the number of looks that I got carrying I've got this black ball cap that has the U.S. flag on it and that kind of stuff. And I've been wearing it more lately, and it's not to protect anything or whatever. It's just, just felt, I don't know, felt like doing it. Kind of like, I dress business attire a lot, right? And a student that, I don't know, whenever he's come to class, he's seen me in martial arts uniform, but he came to class one day last week, and he, sees me in a blazer and polo and slacks and whatnot. And he says, I'm going to assume that you have a meeting. And I said, you're assuming incorrectly. Just dressing this way because there's a certain mentality that goes with that, right? So, but anyway, I'm wearing this cap, right? And I'm walking around. I've got my phone case right here, my phone or whatever, and then I'm holding the bill of the hat in my hand as I'm walking to the table or walking back out to the door or whatever. These people are looking at me like, is there something wrong with the hat? Is there, what? No, it's called bringing back professional etiquette is what it's called, right? I've always seen warriors as, they came from families of high class status. Do you know what I mean? But what I never understood was people fantasizing about or imagining themselves being warriors, but they carry themselves like they just crawled out of a damn gutter, right? Or somewhere in between, right? They want to do the laid back thing or whatever. But think about the warrior class in Japan. There was a certain mindset. There was a certain expected level of decorum and etiquette and professionalism and those kind of things, right? Were there exceptions? Like Musashi, man, it was like the most famous swordsman. Well, yeah, you walk around, you make a friggin' name for yourself, and you don't get killed in the process, then okay, whatever. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't a slovenly, unkempt person, right? The fact that he just killed everybody that was bothered by that and challenged him, it doesn't make what he did or the way he carried himself right. A lot of people carry themselves around like, because I won the fight, that makes me right. No, you can still be an asshole, but you won the fight. So, it is what it is, right? So I try to live to that mindset as much as possible. And I hopefully, as an instructor or as a teacher, students look to me to be a role model for, how warriors carry themselves, right? If they're just coming to me to learn some moves, shit, they can go pay for a couple of classes at the YMCA or buy some videos or whatever, right? But people that want to have that teacher-student connection, there's something much deeper than just, can you show me some moves? I can show you some moves. How about here's how to walk in a way that looks dignified and looks like you have control of yourself, right? Or here's how to carry yourself or influence the perceptions of others in a way that actually helps you produce results and not makes the kind of people you want to hang out with avoid you like the plague, right? That kind of stuff. So anyway, all right. So, we just talked about more than just what I had on the on the thing. Is it connected? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it is. It was unintended, but this stuff's all connected anyway. So, anything else admin wise that we're doing other than like camp coming up? It's a pretty good time to like throw in a shameless plug for spring camp. What do you think? Spring camp, right? May 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Home Boo. We're going to be doing a virtual version as well for those people who want to get in on it. The theme for this year is getting your head on straight, right? And we're going to be looking at a whole bunch of psychological aspects, right? Everything from taking a look at the 3 primary types of meditative practice, looking at how meditation, right? Because meditation is one of those really misunderstood things, right? Most people have like a thing that they think about with meditation, right? Meditation is both a thing to do and it's also a mindset, right? The stuff that really didn't convert well from Sanskrit to Chinese to Japanese to English and whatnot, right? So really bad or misleading translations along the way. So 3 primary types of meditative practice, got countless different ways to meditate, but they all kind of point at or come out of these 3 primary types of meditative practice. But each meditative practice matches a primary function of mind, right? And then what we're looking at during camp is not just the types of meditation, but where they belong distance-wise from the attacker or from the danger in a fight, right? But we're also going to be taking a look at some different mindsets, things that I think are missing and that I was introduced to and had to really kind of hone and focus on, while you're in the mix, right? While you're moving in on somebody, big mistakes that people make because what they're doing when they're practicing is they're not practicing the mindset as well because it's their friend, it's their training partner, right? They're not in that headspace where I am practicing what to do, what to think, how to project intention and all those kind of things against an actual enraged, committed attacker who's trying to beat, break, or kill me. My training partner is just a surrogate at the moment. That doesn't mean I need to like break him, but I'm practicing more than just physical moves, right? So we're going to be looking at those kind of things, right? And where our head needs to be and the kind of things you need to be paying attention to internally between the two of us, environmentally. Just there's a whole bunch of stuff we're going to be covering. We're going to be jamming it into like 2.5 days, right? So that'll be cool. So again, I'm a little bit behind on getting the pages set up because we just had a glitch in the system. There's this place where we have 512 articles, and we thought we had some extra time to get things moved, and it looks like they're in the process of like pulling the plug on their service, and I need to get my stuff off of there so I don't lose them, right? So anyway, so now what we didn't have planned for this week was to scramble to salvage 512 articles. He and I, James and I, just had this meeting on what was it, Saturday morning. We're going to pull 3 or 5 of these things per week, and then get them set up and get them reintroduced to people and updated and all that kind of stuff. And now we've got to scramble to save 512 articles in a week, right? So adaptability is the key to longevity, and God knows the universe has made us be adaptable, right? And we're good at it, right? So anyway, all right, so that's going on. We'll be getting some stuff out there for the fall camp, September 30th, October 1st and 2nd, and then the our Daikomyo-sai is the New Year kickoff kind of thing. That'll be going on January 6th, 7th, and 8th, if I have that right. We'll get all that stuff up. I don't have themes yet for fall camp or Daikomyo-sai, but I will by the time the pages are set up. So that'd be cool, right? All right. So are we good? Right? We'll just keep on moving, right? Again, during this Kuden, I want to talk about mindset, right? Mindset. But from the perspective of something I learned by watching Hatsumi Sensei, other people kind of going, for those of you on Apple Podcast or whatever, you're not on the video, you can't see me like doing this little hint, nudge, nudge kind of thing, elbowing somebody with like a little suggestion. Pay attention to this kind of thing. Along the way, watching Hatsumi Sensei do things, because it's not just the lessons that come out of a teacher's mouth, right? You need to watch how they act, and you need to watch how they do things, or even listen to how they're structuring things or how they're presenting information, the things they hint at or allude to, right? Because everything's a lesson, right? And if you actually get your head wrapped around that, you'll very, very quickly, right, recognize when somebody's just blowing smoke up your ass as a supposed teacher, right? Because they're not walking the talk themselves, right? And that should save you a whole lot of time and effort, because you can then go find somebody else that's actually going to be doing things other than walking around with their chest puffed out, right? Because they need to be in charge of some little corner of the world, right? And you get to be treated like a minion or whatever it is, right? So anyway, let me tell you a little story here, right? This was 2000 Taikai, okay? Now, I had met and trained with Hatsumi Sensei at a couple of training things, Japan, all that kind of stuff before this, but there was a period where I was probably out of circulation for, was it 2000? No, it had to be before that, because I was out of training for about 1.5 to 2 years. I was training personally, but military duty and all that kind of stuff had pulled me away from things, and I couldn't make it to seminars or do the kind of things I needed, because I was tied up with, I don't know, making sure that other people were safe and secure in the world and all that kind of stuff. So there was this little hiatus, right? And there was a longer period. I mean, that was the time away from the teacher that I was working with at that time. But there was this longer period that I hadn't seen Soke, and it was kind of hit or miss before that. I mean, I wasn't like a personal student at that point, right? And so I was at this training, and I got to talking to my teacher then was Stephen Hayes, right? The one responsible for my training and progress and all that, right? And his wife Rumiko, who actually was my first training partner, right? Very first seminar, very first training partner, wiped the floor with my ass, head, whatever could hit the floor, right? It was the coolest weekend, like, at all. And I remember her, I know this is a story within a story, right? I remember her, like, we were training, and all of a sudden she goes, I've been trying to think about who you remind me of, right? You remind me of Manaka Shihan, right? I don't know if you guys know who Manaka is. He he was originally Hatsumi Sensei's right-hand man in the Bujinkan, and then ended up like forming the Jininkan and all that, right? And she goes, and she drags me across the training floor, right? She stops right mid-technique, has this flash of insight, drags me across to Shoshi Hayes, and she goes, oh, doesn't he look like? And Shoshi Hayes goes, maybe a little bit. Like, I don't think I look like a Japanese guy, but we had the same stature, same square head, whatever, right? I mean, obviously I don't look like him, but I've always been called out on, like, where do I come from, right? Because I have these Amerasian features, right? White guy with almond eyes and all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, but we're at this Taikai, and I get to talking about, she goes, you've been introduced to Hatsumi Sensei. And I said, well, I trained with him off and on, and we've spoken, but it's been a while. And I don't know if he knows me from Adam, right? And James and a bunch of my guys know that I've actually operated based on just believing I was so far down on the freaking Bujinkan hierarchy totem pole that I'm just going to do what I do, right? Because I'm not worried about rocking anybody's boat. Hatsumi Sensei probably doesn't even know me from Adam or whatever, but I'm going to be true to myself. I'm going to be true to the lessons that I got and passing them on, based on the way they were done when Hatsumi Sensei first introduced this stuff and the focus and all that kind of stuff before all of the, it's a good politically correct word that means the same, but is not as insulting as watering it down. Oh shit, I just said it, didn't I? Like the reformations and the evolving and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so she said, well, I'll reintroduce you to him and whatever. And so I really didn't have a no to say, right? She drags me across the dojo, and where everybody was, and that wasn't dojo, it was this big freaking conference room that we were in. So it's this build up stage, and he's up there and all that, right? And this is the guy that when people come up to him and they're like, "Oh, Sensei, is this true? And is it okay to do it this way or whatever?" Right? He's like, patting him on the shoulder and, "Oh, you understand, that kind of thing, and you're the prodigy," he didn't use those words, but made him feel that way. So I get led over to him, and she, in Japanese and whatnot, right? And he's up on this stage, right? And I'm just, I'm military, so I'm just kind of standing there waiting for my thing. And he looks down, and he just kind of looks at me, and he goes, "Okay, now we know. You good? Feel better now?" Just kind of looked up like, "I guess so. Thank you," and walked away, right? It was very, very different from this, oh, hey, whatever, right? This thing that a lot of people get. And people are introducing me to other differences. Like if you pay attention to what he does, how he does it, what he says to who, right? You'll see that there's at least two very different kind of treatment methods, right? And what I came to find, and a bunch of us came to find, was that he treated two very different types of students, two very different types of ways. And again, here comes that punch to the throat kind of thing for a lot of people, because everybody believes that, or wants to believe, right, that everything's very out in the open, right? Ninjutsu's out in the open now. So, and if they don't think that way, they at least believe that my teacher should never lie to me, right? Why would I go to somebody who's going to lie to me, deceive me, manipulate me, whatever? That's not what I'm there for. I need to freaking, that's crap, right? Except this is ninjutsu, right? So if you can't see through that, then you're going to be manipulated by anybody doing anything, as long as they're speaking your listen, as long as they say the things that you want to hear, as long as they avoid saying the things that ruffle your feathers or whatever, right? If you've got buttons to push, then you're easily manipulated, right? So everybody wants to learn how ninja do it, but how we also have to be able to defend ourselves against the same kind of tactics, right? So interesting, right? But anyway, there was this, again, that was kind of the start of paying attention to these things. And so what I found was those people who, and they have lots of ways to show it and lots of ways to present themselves, but those people who needed to be the prodigy, those people who needed to be kind of in the inner circle, right? Those people who needed teachers' eyes on them, right? Look at me, right? Those people who needed to be of high rank, that's what they got. They got attention, they got smiles, they got like extra rank, right? Oh, by the way, the black belt ranks were the equivalent of $300 US per rank. So here you go, right? He helped Hatsumi-Sensei buy another car, but he doesn't have a driver's license. So, but he had to spend the money on something. So, whatever, right? Pats on the back, those kind of things, right? Really fast rank, right? And those of us who were just training, and that was the purpose, right? Rank came very, very slowly, right? And then I started to pay attention to who was getting rank, right? So I go to Japan, right? And word kind of got around, every time you go to Japan, take some extra money because, you're probably going to get promoted, right? But that didn't happen to everybody. I mean, it happens, but I found that there were a lot of people that while, he would demonstrate something or other teachers would demonstrate something, and then we'd go off and train, right? But what I'd see is there'd be people that they do something, they do a cool move or whatever, and then they would look. What the hell are they looking at? Or, are they worried about somebody's going to bump into them, or are they trying to manage the space so they're not bumping into somebody else? And what I find was that no, they're looking to see if sensei's watching, right? So, and they keep doing the thing that the insecure guy in the nightclub does when he sees an attractive girl. He'd like to ask out, but he keeps like looking and looking away and looking and looking away, and eventually just makes her feel creepy, right? but what they're doing that to Soke, and then next thing you know, he walks over and he goes, "What is your rank?" "Oh, it's this." "Oh, well, now you're this. Congratulations." "Oh, thank you. Except that after class, they're called up by the rank assistant or whoever's helping with admin stuff and fill out this form. And next class, bring back 30,000 N, right? So 30,000 N, or a yen N is roughly equivalent to a U.S. penny, right? A 1 cent kind of thing. So just bring back $300 to pay for your new rank that you just were given, right? So. But people were just collecting that stuff. I mean, word got around that, if you come to Japan regularly, right? If you go at least once a year or whatever, you're going to get promoted, right? If you're living there, you're going to get rank about every 6 months, but you're getting rank because you're coming to class consistently. And if you're coming to class consistently, then you should be training properly and progressing properly, right? So it's a weird kind of stuff going on, right? But those who were focused on training and progress, and that was obvious, then, the general rule of thumb was they're going to train no matter what, right? They're going to train regardless of whether rank's coming or not coming or whatever, because they're involved in the training for training's sake, right? Not with what color belts around the waist. And then the other thing too is the stonewashed belts. James, you know what I mean by stonewashed belts? Did that happen in Taekwondo when you were in that? Where people would take friggin' belts and beat them with rocks or put them in a friggin' tumbler or put them in a dryer and just no, right?
No.
Where you got some young guy or whatever and maybe he's got a knee on or whatever, but his belt looks like he's been training for like 50 years and he's been beaten by the ugly sticks in the ugly forest or whatever, and his all the black is gone, or most of the black is gone off the belt, right? And it's just these little microts of black, or it's shredded, right? It's been my experience that belts don't wear that way. Belts wear a way where the knot is consistently tied, but not down the tabs, not, they're frayed along the edges along the belt or whatever. But the rule of thumb in Japan, and this is the way it was done way back, right? You went to class, and then, again, this was before one of the reformations, right? If you went to class with a belt that looked like that, either a brand new one was thrown at you and you were told to throw that rag away and put a damn belt on that makes you look like a professional, or you were told to throw that damn thing away and get a new belt because that looks like crap, right? So, but everybody, that seems to be the image of like what a guru master looks like, right? So everybody was like putting these freaking belts on. Anyway, sorry, I laugh. I probably shouldn't laugh at people because they do what they do. But there are these signs of certain mindsets, right? That this is what they're looking for. So, and he's always been a very wind-like character, right? If you understand the Godai and the mandala, right? The wind realm and those kind of personality types, they always say yes to people. They always give people what they want because it'll make them happy, right? Or because it cuts down on conflict and those kind of things, right? So always be careful when somebody's too agreeable, right? Because you could have somebody that a wind-like character could be for, save the whales and dolphins this week, right? For Greenpeace, right? Because that kind of, there's certain types of fishing that, is killing them, right? It's, catching dolphins when they go for tuna or whatever, right? And then they don't differentiate, and then the dolphins die. So, they're all for that this week. And then next week, they talk to the tuna fishermen, and the tuna fishermen are, talking about how it's not their fault because the dolphins get in there. Like it's their responsibility to feed a whole bunch of people. And, So they got to be doing this. And the wind character will go, oh, absolutely, right? You got an organization that I can sign up for and help, the tuna fishermen kind of thing, right? So they'll they don't like conflict, that kind of stuff, right? So ironically, that's the same realm that warriors are in, but it's a different perspective. It's a different aspect of that thing where it's still about selflessness, because wind-like people have very little going on the inside. They themselves don't stand for anything, but they jump on board with a bunch of causes so they can look like they stand for things, right? So they can be a part of a group. And so there's an identity that comes from the outside, right? Warriors, on the other hand, have a selfless nature, and they stand for a cause, but they don't jump around, right? That cause that they're fighting for is something that comes from the inside that they find to be very, very important and worth protecting. So much so that that thing is worth more than their own life, right? Does that make sense? Right? I'm looking at James for validation, because James is also a student. So when I say validation, I don't mean I need to be validated. I mean, is this coming across clearly? Does this make sense? Right?
Yes.
So yeah. So, but anyway, so you got these two completely different groups, right? One really wants the validation. They want rank. There's something that they need the martial arts to give them that they feel like they're lacking, right? And so that kind of thing was given out, right? I mean, there's a cost to it, right? All the extra money to go to Japan once or twice a year so you can get rank and whatever. And I'm not knocking it, because I'd have to be knocking Hatsumi-Soke's way of doing things, right? But what this really taught me was that my own teacher was treating students differently based on what it is that, they were looking for, right? And then gauging and helping them through with things, because some of those students, they'll get to a certain point, and just like the egocentric Buddhist priest, who, if they became a priest so they could be in charge of things and tell everybody what to do, can actually become enlightened in spite of themselves, because they stuck it out in the training for so long, and they had to stay ahead of their disciples, right? So they end up like tripping over themselves and becoming enlightened, right? The egocentric student, teacher, practitioner can end up having the same thing happen to them, right? They can end up making that flip, or they end up bumping into just the right types of experiences, right? Hairy or whatever, or they're just too damn dumb or tenacious to quit. Maybe that was my thing, right? I was just too damn tenacious. I wasn't going to quit no matter how rough things got. But they could make the flip. But at the same time, you have this reality that you need the masses paying for this. I didn't mean for this to rhyme at first. You need the masses to pay for classes so that those who are actually serious have a nice place to train, right? Otherwise, the teacher has to go get a real job, and then doesn't have all that extra time to write books, produce lessons, make sure that things are going the way they're supposed to be going, make sure that everybody has, what they need, right, to train. I mean, that goes back to the old uchideshi, live-in student kind of thing, right? The students went to work, earned the money, bought the groceries, cleaned the house, cleaned the grounds, all that kind of stuff, to free up time so the teacher could focus on what they need to be doing, right? But what modern students will do is they'll go, well, see, the uchideshi stuff, right? Those people didn't have to pay for training and stuff. I mean, the teacher didn't charge these people. Well, see, that's not exactly true, right? Because the teacher didn't have to make any money, because all the students were working and doing all the stuff, right? So the teacher basically got a free ride. But if you actually look at the dojo, the formalization of dojo, that actually happened as wars waned, right? And you started to enter the Meiji Restoration and this peacetime kind of stuff, that even actually backing it up into the Tokugawa kind of thing, where you just didn't have the same kind of ongoing civil war stuff, right? Well, here you had these professional warriors that they had no sellable skills, right? I mean, they had been trained and worked as a freaking warrior their entire life. So what kind of job can they do, right? So a lot of these guys actually started teaching, and that's where how this dojo thing started, right? But what most modern students don't get, because they don't do their freaking research, is these warriors charged a boatload of money for their lessons. And the only people that, well, I don't want to say only, because there's always the rare cases, right? But the only people that could afford the lessons were wealthy people, right? I mean, you don't charge nickel and diming for things, and then you have to support a family, feed yourself, pay rent or whatever your bills are on what a lot of these people expect that the teacher should be charging, right? Or not charging at all, right? So, again, people need to do their homework. And you can find a lot of this stuff. Dr. Zagori, right? Kasem, a lot of people know him. He's a student of Isugu Sensei. He's a university doctor, PhD, right? Teaches on ancient Japanese culture and history and martial studies and stuff like that, and has actually done all this work to look this stuff up. So you get his book or two that he has out or whatever, or listen to a lot of his dissertations and stuff are on YouTube, right? Where he really breaks this stuff down so that people can understand it. Because one of the biggest problems in the West is that the Eastern mindset and the culture and the thought processes and all that are very, very different, not just from modern Western thought, but even from modern Asian thought, right? Need to be translated properly, or what people end up doing is making shit up, right? So, but anyway, now James knows this, and anybody that's on. Speaking of which, who is on? I'm looking at numbers going up and changing and all that. Who do we have on, James?
Looks like Stan's on, Jen's on. No,
I know I didn't just wake you up, right? Because you just sounded like I woke you up. But I'm looking at your screen and you're looking right at me. So unless you sleep with your eyes open,
no.
All right. So
Stan's on, Joe's on, Jen's on.
Jen's like one of my groupies. What's up, homie? Sister from another mister. Shit, I'm gonna sound like other people running freaking podcast. Anyway, cool. All right. Did Jimmy make it for this one?
I haven't seen him.
All right. No worries. Okay. So, but this will help a lot of my local guys understand things. And for those who are not local, I think my inner circle guys know the structure pretty well, because some of them have come in for seminars or private training, like Mike Nichols or Michael Weingartz, and a bunch of these guys have come in that. Whatever, where are they? They're either still local in Pennsylvania to me, or they're in Canada or Michigan or Macau, or shit, these people are all over the place, right? UK, whatever, right? So they understand the structure because the curriculum that they're working through is the same thing. What they don't have is this me kind of working things from groups, people kind of select themselves into certain groups, right? So the programs at the dojo, right? We've got a basic program, we've got what we call a mastery leadership program, and then we've got our Shinobi Kai advanced masters program. And it's not just like hey, can I buy my way into this program or that program or whatever. The programs are really designed around different mindsets, right? And again, this is an extension of what I saw like with Hatsumi Sensei. Now, I'm not going to promote people, well beyond things, because that's dangerous, right? If people believe that their self-defense skills are more than what they are, they're going to have a false sense of confidence. So I'm not willing to go in that direction, right? But there's a whole bunch of different kind of mindset things that we have going on that they're not me telling people that they need to be in a certain place, or, hey, let me upgrade your car, right? So let's get you into this program or whatever. We often look at people and what they're looking for. And then I go, look, I've got A, I got B, I got C. And I'm not talking about like, we've got Taekwondo for those people who want that. We've got Judo for people who want that. We've got MMA. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about Ninjutsu and Nippo Taijutsu, Budo Taijutsu, that kind of thing, right? James knows this kind of thing. So a basic program is really for people that are just, that they always wanted to do martial arts, and they're thinking about things in very general terms or self-defense, but they're not sure like how committed they want to be, right? I just want to learn some basics, or I just want to check it out. Can I do that? Absolutely, right? So we got this program, you can train a couple times a week for this amount of time each class. And we're gonna focus on basics, right? So it's that kind of thing, right? And then we've got this other program that we call our Mastery Leadership Program, because it combines the physical skills and this. I mean, the common Western word is like a leadership kind of thing, where they're getting their head focused on producing better results and being, kind of getting out of the mindset that 95% of the freaking population is in, where they're following the follower and they're just doing enough to not get fired. They're, whatever, right? They're doing what everybody else is doing. They're just doing it a little bit better to produce comfortable results. And that's fine, right? But for people that want more than that, but when it comes to self-defense, they want to be able to handle the most common things that are going to happen, right? And they want to know that they're going to be safe. So not watered down, we're focusing on Budo Taijutsu when it comes to that kind of thing, right? General warrior skills, being able to handle what statistics show us are the most common attacks that are going to happen, right? So, and that stuff is based on the reality that 95 to 98% of assaults that happen every day are easily handled by what we call basics, right? Fundamentals of the fundamentals, the basic principles and concepts, that kind of stuff. Now, our basics are maybe not what most people would call basics, but it's a good chunk of knowledge, right? So that's the focus, right? I want to be able to handle this stuff, common attackers, that kind of thing. I'm not looking at assassins. I'm not looking at, some killer mercenary on the rampage or whatever, right? Cool. We can do that, right? And at the same time, got to making some shifts in mindset so we can get past some crippling misinformation that is just in the business world, they're called best practices, right? In the rest of the world, they're called common sense. Really? It's been my experience that common sense is not all that common, and best practices are bullshit. Best practices are, I don't want to have to do the extra work. What's everybody else doing? Oh, okay. Let's put the same thing in place. Does it work? Well, they're doing it. Doesn't answer my question. Does it work? Right? Like in the workplace violence realm, where I do a lot of my stuff, right? There's a butt ton of best practices, right? Zero tolerance policies, banned weapons on site list, punitive action, right? Here's what we're going to do to punish you if you act out or whatever, right? But there's nothing in place in 97% of companies, nothing in place to train people to survive when bad shit's happening, right? And you look at these best practices and they all look the same. And you look at people and you go, does that work? Well, it's the best practice, what everybody else is doing, right? So, but does it work? Does that work to deter or protect people against your worst nightmare, right? Against people that do not care about your zero tolerance policies, that actually either don't care about or are thankful that you have banned weapons on site list, which means that nobody's armed. And so therefore they can't deter anything that I'm going to do. So I'm going to walk in there, paint the place red, and I'm not going to run into resistance because you've effectively disarmed everybody. Thank you very much. Right? Do they work against people who are either absolutely enraged in the moment and not thinking clearly, so they couldn't give a shit less what you're going to do to them if they act out, or they're actually somebody who's targeting you and they're going to pop themselves afterwards. And so they're not going to be around for you to punish. Do they work against those types of people? Well, they must, because they're best practices. Who came up with them? Now, I'm borrowing this from the workplace violence realm, but this is the same kind of question that people should be asking when a teacher teaches them lessons. Have you tried this? Have you actually used this against other people, right? Me and a lot of my peers, when I say peers, I mean equals, right? We're ex-law enforcement, bodyguards, that kind of thing. Yes, we have whipped a fair share of mushadori on people who were actually trying to beat our brains in. Or we've disarmed people that were either pulling a weapon on us or trying to go after our weapon or whatever. We've done a bunch of these techniques, right? I didn't have a hanbo, right? I had to do hanbo techniques with a short nightstick, right? And still make it work and those kind of things without it turning into something else, right? Anybody can learn a martial art and win fights, but win fights with things that are not anywhere closely related to the stuff that they're teaching on a floor. Okay, so they've learned this stuff and they've been in fights, so they know what it's like being inside the bubble, but have they used this stuff there? But nobody asks those questions. What the hell? Okay. So, but anyway, right? So what we've done is we've divided things out, and then we've got this Shinobi Kai program. And summing up the Shinobi Kai program is this is a program for people that want to learn this art the way I learned it. That doesn't just mean hearing the same lessons. It also means feeling the techniques the same way. And that's different. Okay. So I'm not downplaying anybody who's in a different program, right? But there's certain people that just understand that, look, okay, this program right here, which most of our students are in, this mastery leadership program, people tend to come into the basic program and they're one of two types of people. They're testing the waters. They have that martial arts experience, right? Kind of like going to the amusement park for the week, right? Or for the weekend. And they had a great time. And now they can tell other people, I've trained in the martial arts. Cool, right? Or they are just kind of trying it out and they very quickly realize, okay, I want more, whatever, right? So they move into this other program. So the folks that are in the Mastery Leadership Program, right, you're in a good place, right? Because that's a good, solid program for what most people actually need, right? If you're not in security or you're not in law enforcement, you're not worrying about, people doing dumbass things every time the next conspiracy theory or Y2K or, Corona, whatever thing happens and people panic and go ape shit, right? You're not worried about that kind of stuff. You're just worried about I just want to have a skill set. So should something occur, I can protect me, I can protect my family or other people of my choosing, that kind of thing, right? It's going to handle 95 to 98% of incidents. That's a good percentage, right? Shinobi Kai is for people that want to learn the traditional stuff. They want to be able to apply that modern, but they also have this concern, like a lot of my guys, like Stan and Joe and whatnot, that and I'm not knocking anybody else, right? These people, Carl and whatnot, right? Military or law enforcement or heavy duty security background, whether current or past, their job may currently or whatever, right? So they've got this mindset because they need the stuff and they've gotten more than a glimpse of the shit that's in the world and the kind of people and violence and things like that. And what's cool is it hasn't tainted them, right? These people have great sense of humor, right? They're very, generally speaking, very calm and cool and whatnot, that kind of thing. They're not the guys walking around like martial arts is my life. I want to be able to kick anybody's ass. Not that kind of thing, right? That laugh a lot, want to enjoy life. They want to have one of my teachers used to call it the big dog syndrome, right? As opposed to little dogs. Little dogs are the ones that are yapping all the time and barking and trying to threaten and growl at you and all that. But if you step in their direction, they run behind the couch, then they bark at you from there, kind of thing. I'm talking about the big dogs, ones that want to play, lay around, have a good life and all that kind of stuff, right? Kids climb all over them and everything, right? And you can do pretty much anything to them. But if you cross a certain line, they'll give you that little look or they'll growl a little bit, reminding you that they and that they can chew your throat out, right? But let's just enjoy our lives, dude. Let's have a good time, right? But don't forget that. Don't confuse my kindness with weakness, kind of thing, right? So, but I got these guys that have seen that kind of thing, and they want their perspective, our perspective, right, is to be able to handle the 2 to 5%, right, that nobody wants to think about. Because if I can cover them, then everything else is a cakewalk. Now, this doesn't diminish mastery leadership in any way whatsoever, right? They're just two different mindsets, okay? Just like I also understand that when people come in to the dojo, they tend to move through a mindset paradigm in a very specific way. And most martial arts instructors don't want to think about this stuff, right? Most people don't even know that they're doing certain things or that their perception changes or whatever. We need to clue in on that, because how do I help somebody progress if I don't understand what progress looks like? If I don't know what the next step is supposed to be? What I end up doing is just throwing a whole bunch of shit at them. Here, learn that. Oh, okay, here's some rank. Oh, here, learn this. Oh, here's some rank, right? If you don't understand the process, internally and externally, how do you help somebody progress, right? So for those of you just on audio only, I just made a weird face, right? I do that a lot, right? But anyway, so something that the instructor trainees are going through at the moment, and they're going to be coming up pretty soon. We've got these different things with mindset and whatnot, right? Like this past Wednesday's training, one of the discussion topics that they were given to work out with people in their group, and then we had this open discussion on, was the difference between a problem-based mindset and a solution-based mindset, right? And how we're teaching people to be solution-based thinkers, having solution-based perspectives, okay? As opposed to being problem-based, which is the infection, the virus, the real virus, whether corona's ever around, right? Or we get rid of it or whatever. This is the virus that is timeless, right? And it kills most people, right? They just end up being walking zombies, right? And what I mean by that is something occurs, right? Gas prices go up, whatever, right? Problem-based people latch onto that, and that becomes the reason they can't do things. That becomes the reason that their life sucks. That becomes whatever it is, right? I hear it all the time. I see it all the time because people send freaking emails, right? I want to do this cool thing, sensei, but see, the problem is, and they either use the words, they don't, but they allude to it, right? Here's why I can't. A solution-based person is, oh, here's a problem. How can we fix this, right? How can we make this better? How can we improve upon this, right? You cannot be a self-defense oriented person, a survival-minded person, and simultaneously be a problem-based person. The very nature of self-defense requires a solution-based thinking. You can't do anything about the fact that this person is coming at you with fists or feet or knives or whatever, but you can do something about where your perspective is and whether or not you're going to fold and only focus on how bad the problem is, or you're going to look for, how do I escape? How do I handle it? How do I neutralize it? How do I mitigate the damages? Those kind of things, and act accordingly, right? So as a part of the instructor training program, I make it very, very clear, right? If you're going to be on the instructor or staff team, you must be a certain mindset. And you can only fake that stuff for so long, right? You can tell me, oh, definitely, I'm a solution-based person. It's only going to take one or two little stress-based incidents, and not even big ones, for the real mentality to leak out. It'll come out in your words, right? So that's part of the testing as well, right? So, but again, with this mindset, right? There's three mindsets that people have, right? And so as a part of the staff training, instructors are taught ways to, and the fact that it's their responsibility to get people from one mindset to another mindset. And this has nothing to do with talking them into things. It has to do with inspirational storytelling. It has to do with the way we demonstrate techniques and the way we describe the art and all that kind of stuff, right? To get people to make that natural transformation, or that natural to pass through that natural transcending phase, to go from one to the next to the next. Okay. And very quickly, right? Because this is not a teaching about these things, right? But when it comes to, I don't care if it's martial arts, gym rats, dance, gymnastics, whatever it is, right? Any type of learning thing or any type of activity, right? There's three mentalities. There's a hobbyist mentality, there's a recreationalist mentality, and there's a lifestyle mentality. Okay. A hobbyist, right? Think about hobbies, right? If you have any, right? Think about hobbies, right? These are things that you really enjoy doing, right? One of mine is model building, like plastic models and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm building the model right out of the box as it is. And other times, one of my things is I buy flawed kits that are returned to like companies or whatever, right? I want those, right? Because I'm going to take them and I'm going to take all the pieces, including the runners, that all the plastic pieces, the official parts of the model come on, and I sort them and put them out. And then what I'll do is I'll just open up the box one day and I'll pull out a piece and I'll just look at it. And then I start adding things to it. Now mine's normally like the sci-fi genre or whatever, right? Where that turns into a spaceship, or it turns into something, right? It turns into something that is, so I'm not the sketcher guy. I, build these kind of things, right? And so I like doing things like that, right? But it's a hobby. And what that means is I enjoy doing it when I have time. But if there's too much stuff going on, I don't carve out time to do it. It's a hobby, right? I like it. I also like to fish when I have time. Some years I get zero fishing in. Some years I buy a license and upgrade my gear and all that kind of stuff, and I might go fishing once or twice. Other times, I get an opportunity to go more often because life is allowing that to happen, right? People do that martial arts wise as well. The other mindset, recreational mindset, are people that like something so well that they actually carve out time to do it. Okay. Whether it's going to the gym, coming to martial arts classes, photography, fishing, model building, or whatever, they like it so much that they actually schedule other life things around that because that they need to do that, right? It's becoming a part of who they are, but it's part of their habit pattern, right? It gives them that much enjoyment that they carve out time, right? And then there's the lifestyle mindset where come hell or high water, I will do this thing because it's no longer something I do. It's so much a part of who I am that I can't not do it. Okay. What just popped in my head right now is Jen and her artwork. Okay. She's always working on something, or at least she tells me she's always working on something, and I trust that she's not lying to me. So it's that kind of thing, right? It's just, artist, somebody who is an artist, right, will always be doing their thing, right? They could be taking notes at a seminar and there's a break, and next thing you know, they've doodled a face or whatever, right? They've done little sketch things or whatever. It's just what they do when they're being them, right? People in our realm, right? We will see something happening in the world, and that relates something back to a martial arts lesson. Or, I remember one time making the connection between martial arts instructors who do this thing, not because they don't have the knowledge and they don't like teaching students or whatever, but there's a huge part of them that needs to be in charge, that needs to be a leader. And a lot of these people, right? Relationships aren't going so well. They don't like their jobs so much or whatever. So these four walls or the park or whatever, and telling people what to do and kind of having this kind of control, it feels good, right? So there's that kind of thing going on. And then I made this jump to, holy crap, there's school teachers that do that. There are religious leaders that do that. There are parents that do that. That kind of thing, right? And so the martial arts became like this way of looking, holy crap. It's like this little microcosm of this other thing that's happening in this big kind of realm, right? But if we can't go to class, right? Something happens in life and we miss class once or twice that week or whatever, like we're just missing it, right? Because we feel like a part of us is missing. Now, it's not that the recreationalists don't miss it, right? But they're missing the routine. They're missing the activity. They're missing that thing. The lifestyle people, it's like my arm is missing kind of thing because I can't, you know, and it's not, see, it's not even like a can't thing because a lot of them feel like they can't do the physical training, but, and we just had a Facebook post go out that was related to this, right? Hatsumi-Sensei, there was this quote, right? Anywhere that you can breathe, you can do needs to kind of thing, right? So there's always something that you can do, right? Was it a year and a half, almost 2 years ago? I slipped on ice and came down on some concrete steps and broke my back, ended up in the hospital, right? As soon as I could self-manage the pain, which was 2 or 3 days in, right? I told the doctor, look, you need to take me off this stuff because I can't think. And I had my wife bring my laptop in and some books that I needed to catch up on. Could barely move. Like literally, you have no idea what your body will not functionally do when you have a broken back, right? But that doesn't mean I couldn't train. That doesn't mean I couldn't read. I couldn't research. I couldn't take notes. I couldn't catch up on some training videos. I couldn't write articles. I couldn't, whatever, right? I couldn't do some meditation. I couldn't practice pain relieving mindset and breathing and those kind of things, right? Always something. So somebody that's in a lifestyle mindset, right? That's what they do, right? So guess what? Based on mindset with my students, I'm going to give them lessons that fit that. So they're getting what it is that they want because that's where they are in their head, right? But I'm also giving them lessons or inspiration, or even if it's just a one-liner kind of thing. In neurolinguistic programming, it's called a reframe, right? Where I'm giving them another way to think about something that might be holding them back or might be limiting their viewpoint or whatever, right? Because these are things that help to nurture the next level of mindset, right? To help them move forward, right? So the student self-selects where they are. They don't know they're doing it, but they self-select based on mindset. It's my job to be able to read that and then give them both what they want to help them feel like they're making progress, as well as what they need to progress in areas that they don't even know are holding them back. It's not about being used car salesmen and telling somebody they need something. It's not forcing somebody to do anything or whatever. It's knowing what people want individually, right? That's why they came to the art. That's why they came to our dojo. Staying, I mean, they come for their reasons. They stay for ours, not because I'm telling them they should have that, but because they recognize more than they actually thought they wanted or that was available or that was involved or whatever, right? So there's all these little things going on, right? So this thing that Hatsumi-Sensei and other teachers, right? I watched them doing, right? I watched them, as a matter of fact, I called Shirai Sensei on this one time. I was interacting with him for a good couple of days for training. And I said something, I brought up this idea that I had, and he said, "Oh, Jeff-san, you understand very well." And I said, "Sensei, I don't mean to offend, but I hear you saying that to people all the time, especially to people who don't understand, who don't get it, who are just looking for validation and agreement for you to tell them that whatever they're doing is right." And he smiled. He said, "Oh, see, you do understand." I said, "Please stop that because you're doing it again." And I can't trust that you're doing it authentically or not. And I'm always suspect. And he just smiled and nodded. So I don't know if he was blowing smoke up my ass or if he was acknowledging. And I don't care. But I noticed that the more somebody needed validation, the more validation they got. But the validation that they were looking for was so that they didn't have to train as much, right? I already got it. I've already mastered it. Oh, see, you need to take this back because you understand so well. And you got to be careful when the Japanese do that, because Japanese mindset, right, it's the student's responsibility to know where they are. It's a teacher's job to teach. It's a student's job to know where they are and what they need. Okay? So if a student in their gut knows, I've been practicing whatever, right? Teacher knows that too. In Japan, a teacher, to motivate a slacking student, will actually promote them beyond where they are, or where they want to be going. They'll promote them higher, because now the student knows, shit, I can't live up to that. So what a typical Japanese student will do is go off to a corner, a dark corner, and train their ass off to be worthy of that new rank, right? It'll motivate them to get up there. That doesn't happen for the most part in the West. If I were to throw a black belt at somebody and go, here you go, you're doing well, they would put that on, gloat, and probably go hang up a shingle and start their own dojo. So, but if you read a lot of the books that either Hatsumi-sensei's put out, or there were interviews with Hatsumi-sensei or whatever, he's been called on this. Like, Sensei, you can't be doing this to Western students. And, because, when you do that, and Hatsumi-sensei will explain, well, see, that's done by Japanese students or Japanese teachers to motivate slackered students. Right? We'll just promote them and then promote them and then promote them, right? But at some point they go, oh shit, if somebody calls me on this, I'm going to lose face big time, right? And what the interviewers, or what's being alluded to, is that if you do that to a Western student, here's what's going to happen. And Soke has always said, not my fault. That student goes and does that, and they attract students. And then in part of the interview, or one of these interviews I'm thinking of, right, the interviewer said, yeah, but the problem is that these people end up getting students, and a lot of students and stuff, right? And then they try to play their little mind games and kind of come off as the cocky know-it-all or whatever. And again, Soke will go, not my fault, right? If those teachers attract students who can't see through their bull and choose to stay with them, right? Bad teacher, bad students. Teacher deserves those students. And if the students, want something that this person is giving that's all wrong, right? Their head's all twisted too, right? And they won't quit and go find somebody else or whatever, right? Then those students deserve that teacher. It's like the blind leading the blind, right? So he's just not my thing, right? Because part of his job as Soke, teaching ninjutsu, is to teach us how to see through illusion, through manipulation, through deceit, and those kind of things, right? And the only way to do that is to run into it. You don't do what parents today do and protect your kids from all the freaking harm so that they never have to deal with it. And then they end up growing up as adults with no coping skills, no self-management skills, no self-defense skills against manipulators, used car salesmen, that kind of crap, because mommy and daddy's always done the work for them, right? Now they have no skill sets. They have no abilities to be able to navigate a nasty world. And I'm not saying the world is nasty. The world is what you want to see and make of it. But that doesn't mean that the bullies go away. That doesn't. The parents that protect their kids against bullies. I'll talk to the parents. I'll confront people. I'll whatever. Really? Right? Not only one, are you not allowing the child to manage it, but also, like, some parents are like, I told my kid, if he has to kick the shit out of somebody, or the way I'm doing it, right? The way I'm presenting things, right? The kid's just learning that kind of attitude. So again, it's a fine line that we walk, but if a martial arts teacher or Hatsumi-Sensei as the grandmaster, right, make sure everything is nice and clean and safe and there's none of this stuff going on, then we're not learning how to defend ourselves against the kind of attacks that happen every day. I mean, how many of us, seriously, are being punched or kicked or stabbed or shot at every day? How many of us have to put up with crappy attitudes from coworkers or manipulators or people that are deceiving or whatever, right? That we have to protect ourselves from, right? The used car salesman mentality. I don't mean that the person is selling used cars. I'm talking about that in your face, trying to bully you or convince you into buying whatever bullshit they're selling, right? Or the underhanded deception, whatever, right? All the time, right? So, how do you prepare somebody for that? Well, you give them those experiences. You toss something out and you see, are they going to buy it or are they going to check on things? Are they going to validate things? Are they going to, I just got promoted, but I mean, that's cool. I wanted to be promoted, but are my skill sets really at an 8th degree black belt level when I look at what 8th degrees in other martial arts? And I know we're comparing apples to oranges, but come on. If an 8th degree in another martial art can break, whatever bricks, or they can deal with multiple attackers and whatever, do things full speed and all that. And I'm supposed to be in a martial art that's way better than everybody else. At least that's what my ego has convinced me of, right? Am I able to do that stuff, right? Can my strikes drop a 250-pound MMA guy who's used to getting hit in the head several times a week and is just conditioned for that kind of stuff? Really? Can I really? Or do I just believe that I can? See, right? So we can be taught things and we can accept the verbal lesson as gospel, or we can be presented with experiences where we have to develop a skill set that allows us to be able to see what's really going on, right? The Enlightenment teachings aren't about memorizing dogmatic things like a lot of religions have, right? It's not about memorizing these things and then regurgitating them so I can sound like I know, right? The Enlightenment and wisdom teachings are about being able to see what's really going on in a given situation, regardless of what the surface looks like, right? So you learn your kata, you learn your techniques, you learn how to do them smoothly and all that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, you need to look beyond the physical step-by-step moves and see the principles and concepts in operation. How am I neutralizing the attack? How am I countering and or unbalancing the person? How am I putting them into a position where they can't get at me without exposing their own targets? And how do I, break somebody in a way that they can't get at me again, right? They can't get back up and get at me or whatever. Now, that sounds like I'm talking about a physical technique, right? I'm also talking about dealing with somebody who's a manipulator. I'm also talking about somebody who's trying to stab you in the back. I'm also talking about somebody who's trying to bull rush you and sell you that broken used car or whatever their bullshit ideology is or whatever, right? It's the same. Position myself so it's harder for them to get at me, neutralize the force of their attack, disrupt their balance physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, whatever, so that they can't function well in my direction. And when I do finish things and quote unquote win against them, they can't do something later to come at me without exposing themselves, or they can't come at me with any kind of strength because I've neutralized all that stuff. This is not just about ducking punches. It's not just about avoiding knives, right? But for a teacher to help people, we have to recognize where they are, right, in their own head and what they're looking for and that kind of stuff, right? So that we can, again, give them what they need as opposed to giving them what they want, so they stick around long enough to give them what they need. Okay. And I've watched lots of people that Hatsumi Sensei has done the pat on the back, and these people are very obvious, right? I mean, couple of instructors that people really look up to, Japanese master teachers I'm talking about, right? That people really look up to. They would be crushed if they really knew how these instructors really thought about a lot of these disciple, I'm one of the chosen ones, right? Because it's easy to spot these people, right? The gleam in their eye. They've got what we call celebrity. They're celebrity struck, right? They're all struck. They're gobsmacked. My friends in the UK would say things like that, right? They're one of the teachers called them a puppy dog. They got this puppy dog syndrome, right? Soke's talking to them, or they're getting validation from the senior teacher or whatever, right? And I've seen Hatsumi Sensei actually pat these people on the head, like patting a dog or a small child. Like, good job. Your drawing is great. I'm going to hang it on the refrigerator, right? Of course, that's what parents do. But would you hang that in the Louvre, right? The National Art Gallery, or the no, I mean, you're nurturing them, right? But at the same time, what you see is this gleam in the eye, and they're almost freaking wagging their butts like they're wagging a tail, and they're, I mean, in a different context, they'd be freaking panting. And I know a lot of you guys have seen this, right? You see people doing this where they need so much validation. They want to be, they want to be seen. I had a guy one time that I actually had to leave the dojo because he embarrassed himself, let alone everybody else, and me as his teacher. Because in Japan, I mean, he went to be, what was his words? He went to be, it wasn't validated. Shit, I just had it. Oh, I got it. He went to Japan to be honored. Right? He spent all that money and was going to spend all that time, and he ended up just pissing himself off. Of course, it was everybody else's fault, right? But he went for the wrong reasons, and he got slapped. Not physically, right? But he's in over his head because he has that kind of personality that he needs validation. He needs people to look at him like he's like, all that. I'm not saying the guy's not violent. I mean, not violent, but not skilled, and not, couldn't win a self-defense situation. It's all, but we're not talking about fighting. We're not talking about beating somebody up and being the dominant one that way. We're talking about navigating life situations and not making a damn ass out of yourself and other people, and not being clueless of the shit you're leaving behind in your wake, that kind of thing, right? And a decision had to be made. And so they're a very nice person when they're in their realm, and I'm sure they mean well, but they're very damaging. And so not only me, but every Daishihan in the room recognized it very, very quickly, right? Soke recognized it. And when it was called out in different ways, right? One was a piece of artwork, all this kind of stuff, right? It didn't make this person any more self-reflective because they're so concerned about their own image that all it did was make them pissed off at everybody, including Hatsumi Sensei, because this person did not get what they wanted. So their anger was just nothing but a freaking temper tantrum, right? And I don't have time for that shit, right? So in rare instances like that, cut the student loose. I don't need the tuition. I don't need the friendship. Certainly don't need disciples. So, but anyway, right? Mindset. Okay? So again, it started out just me trying to figure out how to navigate this. Those people are getting promoted way, way fast. And then you can tell right? Because they'll brag. One guy just could not stop telling me during a 20-minute conversation over and over again how he made 6 Dan in 6 years. And I was a Shodan and had been training for a lot longer than that. I don't care what your rank is. Okay? Is your skill set equivalent? And then again, the more I paid attention, the more I realized that, and even the way Hatsumi-Sensei described what he was looking for at each of these levels, they don't match up with my curriculum. And I'm not matching those other things up because in the West, somebody who's an 8th Dan sees themselves as, except that the skill sets that were required for 8th Dan, they don't say, they don't speak that, right? But nobody cares about that. They care. Well, I don't say no one. They don't care about that. They care about this mentality. What they care about is the number next to the black. They care about, how they perceive themselves and how they get other people to perceive them. The powerful ones, including the Japanese Daishian and all that, right? There's this level of humility. There's a level of just this relaxed, I know what I know and whatever. They're not walking around beating their chest. They're not reminding everybody, oh, I made 6 Dan in 6 years. It seems an awful, that's really fast, right? And that's why often these people are, and it's turned into a joke for our entire system because, holy shit, 6 Dan in 6 years. Good luck in most other martial arts with that. Like lots of luck, right? So anyway, I think I hit everything I wanted to talk about. The difference between your Japanese and the Western mindset, and the little story with Hatsumi-Sensei. This really does. We were talking about programs before, and this will probably turn people off, but it's another shameless plug, right? I've got this program. I've got 2 programs. One is called Ninja Mind, right, which focuses on ground level principles and concepts from a psychological standpoint, for us to get our internal house in order, so to speak, right? The key principles and concepts that are at the core of ninja philosophy, right? The selfless idea and perceptions and those kind of things, right? And that's more of a westernized version of this other one that some people might be interested in if they're interested in Mikyo and Buddhist mind science and stuff like that. And that's called First 7 Steps on the Path of a Buddha, right? And they're very, Ninja Mind isn't exactly just a conversion kind of thing. They go hand in hand, but I made Ninja Mind for people that are kind of religion sensitive kind of thing, even though Buddhism by definition is not a religion. It's a philosophy and life, personal development kind of thing. I know it's done in certain circles that way, but that's not the way it was developed, right? So Ninja Mind was developed for those folks that the Sanskrit's not there, the Japanese is not there, that kind of thing. But it's a good primer. It's a good place to start. So if you're interested in anything like that, James, I think they're both linkable over on Online Ninja Academy, right? So
yes, sir.
So if you go to onlineninjaacademy.com, there's the URL right there, right? For those who are on video, right? Otherwise, it's onlineninjaacademy.com. Right on the main site, main page, you can just kind of scroll down a little bit. And if you can't find them, I think Ninja Mind is right at the top, isn't it? Is that one of those 3 core ones we have at the top? So that one's right there at the top. And then First 7 Steps on the Path of Buddha is probably accessible on a tier 2 page. So you scroll down a little bit to there are these big rectangular blocks with like a red diagonal pattern on it. And they have these training categories. So if it's not one of the ones you're looking at right away, just hit the little right or left chevron to the left or right, and it'll scroll across. But you're looking for the one that says like personal development, I think. Is that right, James? Personal development, life skills, those kind of things. Click on that. You'll end up on a page. You'll see Ninja Mind there again. You'll probably also see Ninja Motivation and Influence, which is a way to get other people to kind of see things your way. less forcefully, right? But a lot of my students have also used that to help themselves change bad habit patterns and limitations and things, right? But it's on that one. So you'll find it in there. First 7 steps on the path of a Buddha. Buddha just means awakened one, right? Enlightened one who's awake, that kind of thing. It's not what a lot of people in the West have tried to make it. It's not that kind of thing, right? So, but all this kind of points in that direction. It allows people to, I guess, live the theme that spring camp is going to be, right? Getting their head on straight, not learning a dogmatic set of rules and then conforming. It's about learning about just bad programming along the way that we either decided for ourselves or it was passed on blindly leading the blind kind of thing, and working through different things. There's a program that as soon as I get some free time, I've been promising this for the last 2 years. There's a program that I want to do that's based on these 37 fundamentals that come out of Mikyo that was actually presented as an answer from the Buddha on or really close to his deathbed, where people said, look, there's a lot of people that want to get the benefit of this, but basically summing it up, right, they don't want to be a Buddhist, right? But they want, they want to get the benefit of these teachings. So what are the lessons that they could do that will produce the same results, right? And that resulted in the Buddha outlining what are known in Japanese as the Sanju Shichi Dobon, or the 37 fundamentals leading to enlightenment, right? And I've just been jonesing to do this program. And I'm not sure exactly what the format's going to be, if it's going to be a 10-week thing, or we might need 15 or 7 or whatever, but we'll figure it out. And that'll be one of these things where, we'll have these weekly classes like we've always done, right? One block per week. And that gives people a chance to learn the lesson, think on these things, so to speak, and then work through these assignments that are actually designed to produce the results, right? Because mindset is everything, right? So anyway, all right. So that being said, right, don't forget spring camp, right, in May. And what else? Wednesday. Oh, Whiteboard Wednesday, right? Where's Whiteboard Wednesday is coming up in a couple of days. What am I focusing on this time? Oh, my 0-point framework, right? And again, a lot of these frameworks, right, you're not going to get this from other people, because what I've done is dove into the principles and concepts of the art, and instead of doing what everybody else does and throwing around a whole bunch of Japanese names and words and all that, because we feel all special because it's the Japanese language and we're doing this thing and we're being traditional, and I am being traditional. I'm communicating in a way that most benefits my students, right? So we just spent 2 weeks on the sparring paradigm and how to kind of move our techniques through so that they're street ready. And what I want to do with this one is we're going to backtrack to 3 weeks ago where I took a look at kata versus waza. So we're going to look at the forms themselves from a perspective where the technique itself, the string, and I don't care if it's a kihon appo or if it's a kihon, or if it's a full-on kata like seion or shiaku or whatever, right? And we're going to look at that from like a zero baseline, and we're going to look at all the things, or not, I'm not looking at all the things, but I'm going to give you a way to look at it where you can see that there are all these basics that need to be right to be able to do the kata correctly. And then moving forward beyond that, and the things that are necessary, include sparring being one of them, right? Necessary to get it so that technique is street ready, right? So again, we're defending ourselves on the street the way this art's supposed to work, and not, we're doing that in the dojo, but we're going to do something else on the street. Not that that thing won't work, but is it the same principles and concepts that are supposed to be working, or are we going to be doing something completely different? Okay? And then calling it needed to, or whatever. Okay? Ultimately, we should be living to it, right? Everything becomes needed to, right? how we hold conversations with people, how we develop friendships, how we nurture relationships, how we do business, if that's what we're doing, how we interact on the job or choose jobs, right? Because the job that we're doing, from a warrior perspective, the job that we're doing is how we provide service to others in the world. That's how a warrior thinks. Okay. It's not just a way to make money and put in my time. This is how I serve the world, right? And while the company may produce certain products that people buy and do well, what I'm contributing to that process is my service, is my contribution to the end product that helps other people, right? I mean, there's this really cool exercise that I do with folks where I take I'm going to borrow fast food, right? Just because it seems easy, right? For those of you who know Burger King or any kind of thing like that, McDonald's, Burger King, or whatever, take their main sandwich, right? And the exercise is to break the whole thing down and recognize that when you touch that burger or you bought it, right, you have contributed to the health and welfare of, if not everyone on the planet, a good freaking percentage. Okay, because as soon as you start breaking down the paper and everyone that's involved in the manufacturing, harvesting, whatever, of all the materials in the process to produce that paper, and then the ink that made the printing, and the truckers that got it where it needed to go, and the distribution centers and all that, and right, and all the employees, people that own it, management, employees, and their families, and then move to trucking, same thing, move to warehousing, same thing. We haven't even gotten to the burger yet. We haven't even gotten to the farmers who are growing the lettuce and or the tomatoes and or the companies that are making the sauce, and right. I mean, let's not forget the marketing companies that produce the advertising that makes your mouth water to make you want to go and buy that thing. And so you plunk down your $5.95, whatever it is, right, to buy that burger. You've just contributed to feeding how many hundreds or thousands or maybe even millions of people with that one single action. That's understanding your contribution or understanding how big our actions are. Or to not do that. And now those people don't. So perception changes big time. Okay, I think I've spoken enough. James, questions or not questions? Did any questions come in?
No questions.
No, just a bunch of high. Some people are still saying Shidoshi, right? Even though I've been a Shidoshi in a long time. But it's okay. You can call me whatever you want. It's the same thing my grandfather did. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for a meal. Which sounds pretty funny coming from a fat guy, right? But anyway, pretty nimble for a fat guy, aren't I? What was that one song a long time ago? Pretty fly for a white guy. Pretty nimble for a fat. Anyway, all right, let's go. No questions. No? No comment? No whatever? No?
Well, actually, Sensei McLaurin asked if you were doing youth camps this year.
I am. It's on the schedule. It's on the calendar. There's one in June, right after school ends, and there's one in August, just before school kicks back in again. And for you guys that are local, right, some parents like it. Some parents don't like it. A lot of parents love it. Our youth day camps are on like 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, that kind of thing, right? Some parents have called them a cross between youth day camp and military school, because we have a set of rules and students have to do push-ups if they break my rules. And it's not about a bossing around kind of thing. Older students work on leadership qualities because they end up being team leaders. But we do like a martial arts class every day. We do fitness. There's social time, and there's a lesson that they're learning every day. And so a lot of that stuff is happening that has to do with the discipline and stuff that parents want, goal setting and all those kind of things, right? And then we do lunch, and in the afternoon is when the fun activity is, right? The hike, or we go to a horse farm and they get a horse riding lesson and horse care and all that, or whatever it is that we're doing, right? Friday always ends up with like pizza and pool party thing, right? At a local pool. So what ends up happening psychologically is in the morning, the kids get what they need as far as confidence and discipline and those kind of behavioral trait kind of things. And then the afternoon is all the stuff that makes them want to come back the next day. I'm a sneaky ninja bastard, aren't I? Right. Yeah. So Chris, we definitely are doing that. And I need to get the stuff out because I need to start looking for chaperones and instructors and stuff that can help me during that, because if I have to run it like I have in past years, I get absolutely nothing done. And this is not the year for me to be surrendering 2 full weeks to something. I would rather take it right back off the schedule if I don't have the help, because we need help in getting people to the different outdoor activities and stuff. We need instructors on the floor, and I don't care, people have to, they can only be here for like 1 day or a half day or whatever, but I'm going to need to get that schedule built out. So thanks for the reminder. All right. Is that it? Seriously? That was it? Either I covered this really, really freaking well, or I put people to sleep, or people don't know what to ask. I never assumed that I taught it that well. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. There's no questions.
Are you skinning a cat or something? Because you're like grating on a bone or something. I killed something earlier and I'm stripping the meat off the bone.
It's my mouse wheel scroll.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So you have a noisy mouse. All right. Fair enough. All right. Nothing else?
No, Jen said sign Brooks up for youth camp.
Why would I sign your kid up? You sign your kid up. I'll put him on the list. I'll put him on the list. All right. So
Drew said yay for fitness.
Yay for fitness. Yeah. Yes. Drew's awfully busy this week. Drew's like keeps sending me like updates, but apologies buried in the updates and stuff because his other job is interfering with his martial arts world. I understand. I've turned down really, really good job offers throughout my life because I had a single pointed goal to make happen. And that was what filtered all my decisions. So I wasn't just picking and choosing and then ending up running into conflicts, right? So anyway, but Drew's working on that too, right? Wants to run a school and be a super martial arts guru like his sensei. I don't know what the hell he wants. Anyway, I have a good idea, but anyway. All right, cool. Well, let's do this. We've been at this for 2 hours, so let's just go ahead and wrap this up. And if anybody has any questions or comments, you can post them on the KUDEN podcast page. You can post them on the online ninja or the online ninjutsu training Facebook page, right? Both of those are pages. Or you can comment under this video if you're on YouTube. I don't know that we've gotten a lot of comments and stuff on the other podcast things, but we're going to have to make a concerted effort and put a system in place so we can make a pass through and double check on like at least the major ones like Spotify and Stitcher Radio and Apple Podcasts and Google Play and stuff like that, so we can get feedback and stuff like that from folks that are on those sides, because I don't want them to feel like they're being ignored. You're not. We grew fast, and we're like we get shit everywhere, right? So so let's do that, and then and you can always shoot an email if you send it to Warrior C WARRIOR, right? The word warrior and the letter C at warrior-concepts-online.com. It's a hyphen. Somebody misspelled it, sending it to me the other day. It's a hyphen, not a hymen. Okay. I like when people try to use big words, but if you don't know it and you can't look it up and you can't even spell it well enough to get close enough on Google, write dash or say whatever, right? But it's a dash or a minus sign or a hyphen. Oh, as my Southern friends would say, bless their hearts. Anyway, so or warrior, like I've been trying to send stuff to you and you've been ignoring me, and then I finally like secondhand trying to get this stuff right, like through an IM, right? What did you send it to? And warrior is spelled like with one R, and it's like WA or WORIER. Oh my! I want to be this thing. I just don't. Anyway, so Anyway, all right. People mean well. I've never thought I'd have to be like a CIA decoder or whatever to translate things, right? So you see a lot of these emails and have to respond back to them. And you're as cordial as I am, and that's awesome. But man, God. Anyway, all right. So so hopefully I'll see some of you guys on Wednesday on Whiteboard Wednesday, and hopefully I will see some of you friggin' people in class this week. Stan's taking a class. He's taking a class off tomorrow, not the whole day, just a class because life is getting in the way. So anyway, I'll see a bunch of extra people tomorrow. Matter of fact, James, I think you're making the trip in tomorrow night for class, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but there's a morning class tomorrow, so that'd be cool. And I've got some people that have signed up for private classes that are some of my long distance guys that are coming in over the next couple of weeks or months and stuff. So that'll be cool too. All right. I'm going to get some rest, get some food, get some more work done tonight to prep for Tuesday, which is my hell day. All my own fault, right? Tuesdays are just freaking busy from 7 o'clock in the morning until tomorrow night is a coaching call. So 9:30, 10 o'clock, I stop teaching. And then I get to do more. Well, we've got this article rescuing project now to do. So tomorrow's going to be even more full than it normally is. So that'll be cool. All right, that's it, guys. Oh, I've got a list of topics and stuff for like the KUDEN episodes and all that. Just like I've got, oh my God, 9 or 10 months already planned out for Whiteboard Wednesday kind of things. But if there's something that you guys really want me to teach on or speak on or address, or there's something that I mentioned, in past episodes or on a Whiteboard Wednesday or in class or something that you want me to address more deeply, by all means, speak up. Send that in. If James sees it, he'll get it to me or whatever. And I'm okay with like bumping the schedule. I mean, take responsibility for your training. And if it's something that's important for you to learn or that for you to understand to move forward, one, let me know so that I can make sure that you get it. Two, stop thinking that your stuff is going to make you seem selfish or it's going to jump over somebody else's stuff. I promise nobody else is doing it. No matter how much I say this, is this true, James? No matter how much I say this, everybody is either too worried that they're going to be seen as greedy because they're, getting their stuff answered. I got one guy that is a question guy, right? And I don't mean Chris, right? Josh always sends stuff, and Josh will always say, if you can fit this in, that's really great. But I don't want to be taking time away from other people. Trust me, you're not taking time away from other people because everybody else is sitting back, either waiting for me to teach something or afraid to speak up because I don't know if they think their question is going to be a dumb question or, and there are dumb questions. I'm not one of those people that go, there are no dumb questions. After how many years, how many decades of teaching? Yeah, there are. But I promise yours is probably not one of them because I would not be speaking to most of you if I thought that was the category that you were in. But get it out there, right? One of the things I learned very early in my training from several teachers, be selfish. I know we were taught by mommy and daddy, don't be selfish. But when it comes to your training and becoming the you that you can be to produce the kind of good in the world that the world needs, be selfish. Because if you're not going to do it, What are we going to do? Sit around and wait for the next person, hopefully, to do it? Like all these people that are waiting for me to show up and set up a dojo in their town. How about you do the tough training that I did, and you become the guy in your town or the girl in your town? You might be interested in the affiliate dojo kind of thing we're going to be releasing here in a couple of months, where people can actually use the Warrior Concepts system, dojo management, the whole deal, right? To set up a school fast track or to get their own in a better place and to be helping the number of people you've always dreamed of helping. That'd be cool, right? And so, and if not, no worries. Think bad things about me because I'm doing it anyway, right? And I wish you well. That's the way it's going to work, right? So, anyway, all people that change the world are loved by some and are thought of as assholes by others. So, I'm okay with that, right? I've always told people I'm not an on the fence kind of guy. If you're not sure about me, and most of my students, my close students right now, are either thinking the words in their head, they already know what I'm going to say, or they're already lip syncing it because they already know I'm going to say, give me a minute. What is it, James?
I'll push.
I'm going to push, right? We're going to find out which side of the fence you're going to fall on here. I'm a love me or hate me kind of guy. If you're on the fence, give me a second. I'm going to push. Okay? I don't need you to be on the fence about me. And I'm okay if you love me or you hate me, right? If you hate me and you've got a better way, produce the same amount of results. Produce the same kind of results, okay? Don't just like throw words around in hatred and all that kind of stuff. Like, you're going to call me all kinds of names. You're producing the same or better results. I'll come learn from you. It's that simple, right? Until then, just life is always a reflection of our ideology and our belief system. The results that we produce every day are a direct reflection of the validity of what's going on. If we want better results, we have to make certain changes, right? What most people want to do is run around and get everybody else to change. We could just get some laws passed so that people would get on the right. No, what you really mean is if everybody else does all the hard work to change so that they do things your way instead of you having to change to get with the program, right? Like natural laws, Anyway, all right, that's it. James, anything else? Any last minute thing pop in?
No, sir.
All right, in that case, I'm going to do what probably half of you want me to do anyway. I'm going to shut the hell up. And we're going to wrap this up, and I will talk to everybody again next time. James, you're probably going to have to edit the end of this. I'm not going to put the outro on this because I forgot to do the intro because we somehow lost the timer or whatever. So if you could just edit this a little bit somewhere when in all of your extra time like I have, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll just let it stand for a while, and then we'll fix it later because the priority right now is the articles. Okay. Nobody else needed to hear that. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll talk to everybody again next time. Be safe. Talk to you soon.